The knock. We've had a call about you. It's the evening. You're at home, shoes off, telly on. And then it comes, a knock at the door, firm 3 times. You open it, and there are 2 police officers standing on your step. Calm, polite, one of them already half smiling. And the first thing they say is the line that has walked its way into millions of homes. Evening, we've had a call about you. Can we come in for a quick chat? And your stomach drops, because you can't think of a single thing you've done wrong. But you're a decent person, and decent people cooperate. So your hand is already moving to open the door wider, to step back, to let them in, and get this sorted. Stop. Because right there, in that who I am friendly little question at your own front door, is a trap. And it's one of the most expensive traps in the whole of the law. Because here is the truth almost nobody knows until it's too late. When an officer asks if he can come in, it is very often a sign that he has no legal right to. That question isn't manners, it's a key, and the moment you open that door and step aside, you hand it to him. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you one sentence, one calm sentence you say through that door that protects your home without making you look like you've got anything to hide. I'll show you the exact UK law that backs it up, including the handful of times they genuinely can come in, whether you like it or not, so you know the difference. And stay with me to the very end, because there's a second thing the officer says the moment you don't just swing the door open. And that follow-up line is the real trap. It's the one that catches even people who think they know their rights. I'm Oliver Bennett. For 15 years, I defended people in police stations and courtrooms across England and Wales. And on this channel, I break down exactly what to say and what not to say when the police come to you using the real law, so that when it happens, you're the one in control. And let me be clear right from the start. I'm not here to tell you the police are the enemy. Most officers are decent people doing a hard job. And if someone's in danger, they should be able to act. I'm here for the grey area moments, the knock with no warrant, the quick chat, the vague call about you, so that when one lands on your doorstep, you know exactly where the line is. Quick note before we go on. This is legal education for England and Wales, not legal advice, and I'm not your solicitor. For your own situation, speak to a qualified one. Right, let me show you what that knock really is. Here's what a good solicitor would tell you the second you describe that scene. Your home is not the street, no general right of entry. Home is not the street. On the pavement, the rules are one thing, but your front door is the strongest line in the whole of English law. They call it the threshold. And for centuries, the principle has been that an Englishman's home is his castle. What that means in plain terms is this. A police officer has no general right to walk into your home. None. To cross that threshold, they need one of 3. Warrant, power, or consent. Lawfully, he needs one of only 3 things. He needs a warrant, a document signed by a court, or he needs a specific power written into law that applies right then. Or he needs your consent, your permission. And look carefully at that list, because we've had a call about you is not on it. A report, a tip-off, an anonymous call, a concern, none of those, on their own, is a key to your door. So when an officer stands on your step and asks nicely if he can come in, listen to what he's telling you without meaning to. If he had a warrant, he wouldn't ask, he'd show it. If he had a power to force entry, he wouldn't ask, he'd use it. The fact that he is asking is very often the loudest possible clue that he cannot come in unless you let him. The question is the key he hasn't got, and he's hoping you'll hand him yours. And here's the part that catches why honest people open up. The consent trap. Good, honest people, the ones with genuinely nothing to hide, they think opening the door makes them look cooperative. They think keeping it closed makes them look guilty. So they open it wide, they step back, they say, yeah, of course, come in. And in that single polite movement, they've given away the one protection the law built into their home. Because the moment you consent, the moment you invite them over that threshold, or even just step back and let the door swing open so they can follow you in, it no longer matters that they had no warrant and no power. You gave permission, and permission is all they needed. An entry you could have refused is now an entry you agreed to. So understand this clearly. Keeping your own front door closed is not obstruction, it is not a crime, and it is not evidence of guilt. It is you keeping shut the one door the law says you are allowed to keep shut. And I want. A closed door isn't guilt to take the fear out of this, because the fear is the whole tactic. A friendly voice on your doorstep works so much better than an aggressive one, for the same reason it does everywhere else. Aggression makes people defensive, but friendliness makes people want to please. You don't want to seem rude. You don't want the neighbors seeing you argue with a police officer on your own step. So you override your instinct and you invite a stranger into your home that in any other circumstance you never would. But your calm no is not rudeness. You can be perfectly warm about it. You can smile. You can talk to them through the gap. You can even step outside and pull the door closed behind you so you can hear what they want, all without letting them in. Being polite and keeping your threshold are not opposites. You can be the most reasonable person in the world and still keep that door shut. So neither the nervous, yeah, come in, nor a rude slam of the door in their faces. There's a calm line right down the middle. And here is the exact sentence that walks it. When those officers ask to come in, the sentence says this. You open the door just enough to speak, or you talk through it. And you say, calm and polite, I'm not letting you in, and I'm not answering any questions right now. Do you have a warrant or a power that lets you enter? And am I being arrested, or am I free to close the door? That's the whole thing. Let me take it apart because every piece is doing a job. You start with, I'm not. Word by word. Why it works, letting you in, and I'm not answering any questions right now. Clear, calm, no aggression. You are simply not consenting to entry and not being interviewed on your own doorstep. Then the important half. Do you have a warrant or a power that lets you enter? This is the polite version of make them show their cards. If they genuinely have a warrant or a real power, they'll tell you what it is. And at that point, you do not fight it. You step back and let it happen. And you remember every detail for later. But if they've been fishing, this is a question that has nowhere to go. They can't name a power they haven't got. And finally, am I being arrested or am I free to close the door? Because that forces the whole thing into the open. Either they're exercising a real power over you, in which case they must be able to say so, or you are a free person standing in your own home who is allowed to say goodnight and close your door. There is no third option where you simply have to stand there, door open, answering questions because they'd like. Same street, two neighbors, one sentence apart you two. Let me make this real because I've watched it go both ways. Picture two neighbors, same street, same evening, the same two officers, knocking with the same, we've had a call about you. The first, a good bloke with absolutely nothing to hide, hears it, feels his heart jump, and because he wants to prove he's got nothing to hide, he opens the door wide and says, "Course, come in." Now they're in his living room, looking around, asking questions he's answering badly because he's flustered, and a vague call has become an hour of his evening. A search of his front room he never had to allow, and a note on a system with his name on it. Now, the second neighbor, just as innocent, hears the very same words, keeps the door to a gap, and simply says, "I'm not letting you in, and I'm not answering questions. Do you have a warrant, or am I free to close the door?" They've got no warrant, no power. So within a minute, it's, "No, that's fine, good night." Same street, same innocent person, same knock. One of them handed over the key to his home. The other kept it politely and shut his door. And the only difference between those two evenings was a single sentence. Now I could, when they genuinely can come in, promised I'd tell you the times they genuinely can come in. Because knowing that is how you avoid the opposite mistake, obstructing a real power. So here are the main ones in plain English. If they have a warrant from a court, that's a yes. If they are coming in to arrest someone for a serious and indictable offense, the law under Section 17 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act lets them enter to do it. If it's a genuine emergency to save life or limb, or to stop serious damage to property, they can force entry. And quite rightly, if someone's screaming inside, you would want them to. And there's an all common law power around the breach of the peace that's actually happening or about to. That's essentially the list. Notice what they all have in common. They are serious, specific, and immediate. A vague, "we've had a call about you," with no arrest, no emergency, and no warrant is none of them. So the rule is simple. If they name one of those, you comply. You never physically resist a real power. If they can't name one, the door stays shut. And a vague welfare call? Step outside. Let me add one honest, responsible word here, because I never want this video to be the reason someone gets hurt. If those officers are at your door because they are genuinely worried that someone inside is in danger, a child, a vulnerable person, somebody who has threatened to harm themselves, then that is not the moment to argue law at your threshold. Step outside, let them see that everyone is safe and help them do their job. Everything I'm telling you is about the phishing knock, the vague call about you with no emergency, no arrest and no warrant, not about a real crisis. Know the difference and use your judgment. And know this too. If they do arrest someone at the door, that arrest can carry its own power to search the home afterwards under sections 18 and 32. An arrest changes everything, which is one more reason you stay calm. You say nothing of substance and you ask for the free duty solicitor the very moment you reach the station. Now stay with me because they are not always going to tip their hat and leave after one calm sentence. And this is where people crumble. Let me walk you up the ladder rung by rung. First, push, the smile. When they push back, cool a little. Why won't you let us in? If you've got nothing to hide, what's the problem? That line is engineered to make your closed door feel like guilt. It isn't. You have not done a single thing wrong by protecting your own home. And a court cannot treat your refusal to consent the way it would treat a confession. So you don't take the bait and you don't start explaining yourself. You just repeat calmly, I'm happy to talk out here, but I'm not letting you in without a warrant or a power. Am I free to close the door? Second push, the real trap, the friendly follow-up. And this is the one I promised you at the start, the real trap. Because a clever officer won't keep arguing about coming in. Instead, he'll soften, nod, take a friendly step back and say something like, that's alright, we don't need to come in. Could you just pop out here for a second? Or could I just take your name and date of birth? And here's why it works. You're so relieved they've stopped trying to get through the door that you'll agree to the smaller thing to seem reasonable. You'll give the name, you'll answer the just one quick question. That relief is the trap. If you remember, you come to on your own doorstep without a specific power. You don't have to give your name and you don't have to answer their questions at all. So you treat the smaller ask exactly like the big one. I'd rather not get into it. Am I free to close the door? The softer their voice gets, the more awake you stay. And watch one very specific version of this move because it catches almost everyone. No problem, go and grab your ID for me then. The instant you turn and walk back into the house to fetch something, they will very naturally, very politely step in after you. And now they are standing in your hallway, and you invited them without ever meaning to. So if you're going to fetch anything at all, you step out, you pull the door shut behind you, and you come back to a closed door. You never leave it hanging open with an officer on the step. Third push, and the force the door bluff. This one's the bluff. When the calm questions have got them nowhere and they still haven't got a power, sometimes you'll hear the threat dressed as a favor. Look, we can do this the easy way, or we come back and force the door. If they genuinely had grounds to force it, they'd be doing it, not bargaining with you. So, you don't argue and you don't fold. You stay on the one line. If you've got a power to enter, use it and tell me what it is. If not, I'm going to close the door now. Make them choose. A bluff hates that question. Now let me your questions answered. Answer the questions I can already hear you asking. What if I don't open the door at all? Can I just ignore the knock? You can. You are under no general duty to open your door to the police. Talking through it or stepping out is often the calmest way to find out what they want without giving anything away. Doesn't refusing entry make me look guilty? No. It's a right used by millions of innocent people and it can't be held against you like an admission. What if it's a welfare check? They say they're worried about me. Then stepping outside and letting them see you're perfectly fine usually ends it on the spot without a single officer crossing your threshold. And what if they just walk in anyway? Then they are claiming a power, so you don't physically resist. You state clearly, I do not consent to this entry. You remember every word and you take it up afterwards in a complaint. You never win it by wrestling in your own hallway. Now, everything I'm walking you through here, when they can, enter, and when they can't, the exact words to say through the door, how to handle each push, and how to turn an unlawful entry into a complaint that actually lands. I've put all of it in plain English into one short handbook for Indian Unways. It's called Know the Handbook, Your Rights, and it's the thing I wish I could hand to every person before the knock instead of after it. It's got the wallet scripts in it too, the exact lines for the doorstep, the street, and the police station, written so you can use them when your mind's gone blank and your heart's going. If this video has been useful to you, that book is the whole of it, organized and ready, and the links in the description. So, let me share the whole thing. Simply bring it home. Because under all the nerves, it is genuinely simple. Your home is your strongest protection in law. To come in, the police need a warrant, a specific power, or your permission. And a call about you is none of those. So, you don't open up and you don't consent. You talk through the door or step outside. You make them name a warrant or a power. And the moment they can't, you're free to say goodnight and close it. You never obstruct a real power and you never resist. But you never hand over the key to your home just because a friendly voice made you feel rude for keeping it. The people who get caught are almost never the ones who can be said, not without a warrant. They're the ones who open the door wide because staying shut felt impolite. Don't be that one. Be the calm, polite person who knew where the line was, right at their own front door. If this share and subscribe helped you understand even one of your rights, do me a favor and send it to one person you care about, because someone you know is going to get that knock one evening, tired and caught off guard. And the difference between a 2-minute chat on the step and a stranger walking through their home is whether they knew this before they opened the door. Subscribe because this is all I do here. I take the moments that frighten people and I make them simple. I'm Oliver Bennett. Know your rights before you need them. And I'll see you in the next.